So a continual problem that I had was that they wouldn't deliver things, they would just leave cards. The other problem would be that they would leave stuff sitting out front or on top of the mailboxes. Another issue would be that, just the fact that if an item isn't small enough to fit in the mailbox, they're not supposed to leave it sticking out of the mailbox or sitting on top of the mailbox. They're supposed to take it to the post office and card it. That's when they're supposed to card it, if it's too big to go in the mailbox. And they would either do one or the other. They'd leave it sticking out, more so at this new place I'm at, or with the older place they'd tend to just leave it sitting on the floor or just card. So it's always been a nightmare. So what I ended up doing was I discovered something called Parcel Collect, where what would happen is you'd get something addressed to your post office, and then they would email you when it arrived so you'd know when to get it. Unfortunately, most of these would arrive around 4:45 in the evening when they close at 5, so I'd have to run. It's across the road. I can almost get there in 10 minutes, but I can get there in 5. I really try, but if you get the message and you've got 15 minutes to get ready and get out and get there, often I wouldn't get there in time, or I just wouldn't even bother because it was too tight. So then I discovered a thing called parcel lockers, which are 24 hours, where you get them sent to a locker, you get a code sent to you, you use your phone, and you just have to go and get it, and you can get it any time. So I started doing that because I could do it any time. And then when the you-know-what hit, and I didn't want to be going into any post offices anyway, it became a lot easier, and it did free me up to order a lot of things that online that I sort of wasn't going to get before, mostly because I didn't want to spend on postage. But then when you could no longer go to stores, that was just a given that we'd spend a certain percent of whatever item you're buying would be postage. So I got a lot of stuff. I did a lot of my collecting, but that wasn't the end of it though. There are a lot of problems with the parcel lockers as well. Not so much with the parcel lockers, but if the parcel lockers were full and they were sent on to a post office, then there would be problems. Basically, they wouldn't log them in, so you would just have parcels just disappear. You wouldn't know where they were. And often I'd get a different parcel. I'd get a message letting me know it's at the post office. I'd go to the post office and I'd say, is there an item for, whatever, or I'd give the tracking number, and they'd go out and they'd come back with 5 other items that were addressed to me that I hadn't been notified were there waiting for me. So had I not got the one that was, send it out for notification, I would have not known the others were there, and after 10 days they would have been sent return to sender. So that happened with about 14 items. So the times I go, I come back with 6 extra items, I go 5 extra items. There was another time I went to a different post office, same thing happened. I went in for 1 item, I came out with 3. And then I think it happened 2 more times, and I think the tally was like 14 items that had been waiting for me that I hadn't been notified about. And there was another item that I was notified. I didn't get the notification at first, and by the time I got it, it had been sent to a post office. So it had gone to a parcel locker, and I hadn't been notified that it had gone to a parcel locker. It was in the system, but I hadn't been notified. So when I looked at the tracking on the website, I could see where it had been and where it was, but until then I didn't know where it was. So I contacted them, and that it had already been returned to sender, and I'm like, it had sat there for a month and no one had told me it was there. I wasn't notified when it arrived. I wasn't notified that it was there, because after 5 days they're supposed to notify you that it's still waiting for you to collect. So nothing was sent to me, nothing at all, and then it was returned to sender. And I actually tried to get them to send it to me and redirect it from within the system, and they actually managed to do it, but then it ended up being put back, returned to sender, when it was about 2 stops away from getting to me. So that drove me nuts. And there was another item which they didn't know where it was. I walked around all the local post offices in the surrounding 3 suburbs. No one had it. And eventually the next week I saw that it had been at one of the places I went to, and that it sat there. They didn't give it to me, and it sat there, and then it wasn't collected, of course, and it was sent return to sender like on the Wednesday when I'd gone in on the Friday to ask if it was there. So never got that one back. There was another one that disappeared altogether. And probably the worst story was during the pandemic, I had a bunch of items held for me. longer than they would normally hold, because they normally hold for 10 days, not including weekends, which is like 2 weeks. And they can extend it for 2 weeks if you need. I got extended for probably 6 to 8 weeks and had a whole bunch of items there. I went in, I got them, wasn't a huge problem. But when I went in the next time, the lady who'd been doing this for me, who'd worked there for years, had retired. And the lady in the store was evil. And she said to me, "Oh yeah, I returned that to the centre." I'm like, "Why?" She said, "Well, you took too long to pick it up. We can't just afford to have our storage space just filled up with all your stuff, and why should you be treated differently? Why should people wait for your stuff?" And when I was talking to her, I was wearing my mask, and she's like, "I can't hear what you're saying with that stupid thing on." I'm like, I've been around 4 other Australia Posts today. No one had any problem understanding what I was saying, but she had a problem. So that's the point. She had a problem. So I just had to send my packages to a parcel locker nowhere near them. So if it didn't go to the parcel locker, it would end up being sent to a different post office, the nearest by one, not this one, because that lady was basically going to return anything of mine that she saw being held in the back room, like they're supposed to hold stuff for 10 days. If she saw anything of mine, she made it very clear she was going to return it to sender, because apparently I was entitled or something, because I expected them to hold the items for 10 days, which is what they're meant to do. So yes, and they can extend them for 2 weeks, which they're also meant to do. But the other stuff was exceptional because it was an exceptional situation. I was just lucky that I knew the lady who'd worked there. I'd known her for 12 years, because I'd lived here for 12 years. So she was happy to help me out, and it wasn't a huge issue. But this lady, it was a problem. So those are all my Australia Post dramas. This is supposed to be an insert into a video, but I think it might become a video all of its own. But maybe each of those stories deserve their own videos. I don't know. But it's just really disturbing how many things can go wrong in a system, how little backup and how little intervention there is that humans can do, particularly for automated stuff, and just how crazy some people are, and some customer service people. And I literally have had people lie to me about what they can and can't do, and then someone else has proven them wrong and apologised on behalf of them and did exactly what I said they could do, or I was told they could do in the first place, when other people swore black and blue it couldn't be done. So yeah, I partly just needed to vent. So I might just redo these as separate videos. I don't think I'll use this as one, but whatever, maybe I will. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Thanks, bye.